The FBI was stunned. How could it be possible that 3 prisoners managed to escape so easily from a place where, even if a prisoner were set free, they couldn't get away? Despite constant surveillance and tight security, these 3 prisoners managed to break free, and it was an embarrassment for everyone involved. Surrounding the prison were the vast, relentless waves of the ocean, and on top of that, 15-foot-high fences that no one had ever crossed in the last 25 years. What kind of plan was in place that allowed them to deceive everyone, even on such a remote island? The most shocking part was that the prison officials didn't have a clue about their escape for a full 10 hours. Yes, today we're going to talk about the infamous Alcatraz prison escape that left everyone in shock. This small island, nestled right in the middle of the ocean, was known for housing some of the world's most dangerous criminals. Alcatraz was reserved for prisoners who constantly caused trouble in other prisons. It was believed that once a convict was sent to Alcatraz, any hope of rehabilitation was lost. Most of the inmates were notorious bank robbers, con artists, or murderers. Surrounded by strong winds and towering waves, it was said that even a bird couldn't fly over Alcatraz. But on July 12, 1962, 3 prisoners managed to outsmart the tightest security and completely humiliate the entire prison system. Before diving into the full story, it's important to know about the 4 key characters involved. Among the prisoners, John Anglin and Clarence Anglin were brothers, convicted for bank robbery. Frank Morris, who had been in and out of prison since the age of 13, was caught during a heist. And finally, there's Alan West. Alan had attempted to escape from other prisons several times, which ultimately led to his transfer to Alcatraz. Since Alan had been in Alcatraz for quite some time, he knew every nook and cranny of the prison. It's important to note that Alan West was the one who first came up with the idea to escape and shared it with his fellow inmates. He had discovered a flaw in Block B, where it seemed possible to break out. Prisoners were woken up at 6:30 a.m. and they were sent to breakfast at 6:55 a.m. Once they returned to their cells, they were assigned different work shifts. During their shifts, they had to pass through metal detectors in the assembly hall, where each prisoner was counted. These 4 constantly worked on the idea of being moved to the same block instead of being separated into different ones. After much effort, they were finally shifted to Block B. Like the other prisoners, these 4 would finish their work and go to bed on time. Exactly 2 years later, on July 12, 1962, the prison officials went to wake the prisoners up at 6:30 a.m. as usual. When the count was taken in the assembly, 3 prisoners were missing. When their beds were checked, the officers' eyes went wide in shock. There were only fake heads placed on their pillows. The 3 escapees had already fled, and in their place were heads made from a mixture of soap, plaster, and cement. Alcatraz had the highest number of guards compared to any other prison in America, so the officials were confident that the prisoners couldn't have escaped the prison grounds. The entire facility was put on high alert, and searches were conducted throughout the surrounding areas. Yet, there was no trace of the 3 escapees. The mastermind behind this plan, Alan West, was unable to escape. Given the commotion, the FBI was immediately notified. Upon further investigation, it was discovered that the 3 prisoners had cleverly broken through the small ventilators in their cell's walls to make their escape. There were 3 escapees, but 4 ventilators were broken. The 4th vent was of Alan West. West had fallen behind in digging out the vent grill in his cell, which is why he was unable to escape. Realizing his game was over, Alan West decided it was best to come clean and tell the authorities everything. Alan revealed that the entire escape plan had been masterminded by him. One day, Alan West was assigned to clean the roof of the prison. This particular section of the roof was above the other prison roofs. While cleaning, Alan noticed a hole in the ventilation pipe, which led all the way up to the building's roof. Unlike the other pipes, this one wasn't covered with concrete, only some iron bars which could be cut or broken. If they could find a way to cut or break those bars, the path to escape would be open. Alan shared this discovery with Frank Morris, who was in the adjacent cell. By coincidence, both of their cells were right beneath that ventilation hole. Frank Morris eagerly began preparing for the escape. Though the idea was Alan's, since Morris was the most clever, he took full control of the plan. After that, Frank Morris invited the Anglin brothers to join the escape plan. Their cells were very close to each other, which allowed them to maintain constant communication. The only way to reach the ventilation pipeline was through the back of their cells. Each of the 4 cells had a small vent on the back wall, measuring about 5 by 9 inches. Alan knew that the wall thickness was only 6 inches, so it was possible to enlarge the vent hole. But the question was, how would they manage to do it? During mealtimes, they would secretly steal spoons, which they used to scrape away at the vent. This process took a lot of time, so they came up with a clever solution. They combined parts of a vacuum cleaner motor with other materials to create a drill. Every night, the prisoners were allowed an hour to play their favorite musical instruments. The 4 of them took full advantage of this noise cover to carry out their work undetected. After each session, they would cover the hole with paper painted to match the color of the cell, placing some items on top to make it look like the vent was undisturbed. During guard rounds, the officers would find them peacefully sleeping, which made them complacent. This routine continued for 6 months. To fool the guards during their escape, they knew they would need fake heads. They used a mix of soap, cement, paste, and paint from the workshop to craft the realistic-looking heads. Clarence Anglin was given the responsibility of working at the prison barbershop. When no one was paying attention, he would quietly pocket hair from the other prisoners. Gradually, he gathered enough hair to place on the fake heads. The ventilation hole opened into a corridor that had no security. From there, a pipe led directly to the roof of the block, a place where Alan and the others had often worked for maintenance duties. In Alcatraz, prisoners were assigned maintenance work in shifts, and the 4 of them would use this opportunity to go up to the roof and carefully observe every small detail needed for their escape plan. Using the pipeline from the roof, they descended and then climbed over the island's 15-foot-high fence, successfully escaping. All the prisoners were given raincoats. These prisoners used to collect these raincoats, and with them, they had made a boat. Using these raincoats, they also made life jackets. In case they were about to drown, the life jackets would save them. Meanwhile, footprints were found on the roof of Block B, which proved that the prisoners had hung from there and used those very wings to descend. Soon, the FBI, Coast Guard, Bureau of Prisons, and U.S. Marshals were all involved in the search for the escapees, and the hunt began in the ocean. However, no prisoners were found, nor were any rafts or life jackets discovered. Later, the police found a piece of a wooden raft, which was likely used by the prisoners. Then, 2 bags made from raincoats were also found, containing the prisoners' personal items, such as family photos and letters. This led to the assumption that the 3 prisoners might not have survived, as no prisoner would easily leave behind such personal belongings. Despite this, for several months, the investigation team found neither a body nor any body parts. One theory suggested that the 3 prisoners might have swum to land without using the raft. Alan West had revealed that according to the plan, the prisoners were supposed to first pass through Angel Island, located to the north of Alcatraz, where security was minimal. From there, they were to steal a car and some clothes. A search was conducted around the areas surrounding Alcatraz, but no reports of theft or robbery were found. Then, 15 years later, a cousin of the Anglin brothers spotted them in a club in Brazil and took a photo. The family believed it was indeed the Anglin brothers, but U.S. Marshals investigators stated that the faces of the individuals in the photo did not match the Anglin brothers. That was the last time there was any credible sighting of the Anglin brothers. After that, no trace of them has been found. The year following the escape, Alcatraz prison was shut down. In 1979, the FBI officially closed the case. Today, Alcatraz Island has been turned into a national park where visitors can see Block B's bars, the same ones where John and Clarence Anglin, Frank Morris, and their accomplice Alan West were once imprisoned 60 years ago.